challenging academics, dedicated teachers, and a culture of high expectations, students are prepared not just for graduation, but for what comes next. Nearly 100% of our graduates are accepted to college every year. Because when students are challenged and supported, bright futures follow. Bright futures begin at IDEA Public Schools. Learn more at ideapublicschools.org.
Sponsored by IDEA Public Schools.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
MPL 3854.
AM 700 KSEV, Tomball, Houston. The voice of Texas.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Severe flooding has hit the state of Texas.
Dozens of people have been rescued in Texas after days of pounding rain and devastating flooding in a region still recovering from deadly floods just a year ago. Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
I've already issued a disaster declaration for 59 counties across the state.
Uvalde business owner Cameron Sanford.
There was very little warning. We knew a flood was coming, but we didn't know it was going to be to this magnitude.
Resident Bailey Luckman.
We're being told to evacuate. It's not mandated, but it's recommended.
The Weather Service says there's been 10 to 20 inches of rain in the past 2 days, 8 of which fell in just 2 hours early this morning. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Smoke is the problem in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast as a result of wildfires in Canada. In an interview with CTV, Howard Shapiro with Toronto Public Health says the smoke from Canadian wildfires can present a health hazard.
This is kind of like the earth smoking a cigarette, and we're getting the secondhand smoke from it. Those particles are going to contain a whole sort of soup of different chemicals and compounds.
The White House is previewing President Trump's address to the nation tonight. Willie Nelson reports.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says President Trump will deliver a rare primetime address from the White House as the administration looks to highlight a key priority of the president's agenda.
Tonight, as you all know, at 9:00 p.m. Eastern, President Trump will deliver a major address to the nation on protecting the integrity of our elections, and we encourage every American to tune in.
The speech is expected to be delivered from the East Room of the White House. Willie Nelson, the White House.
On Wall Street, the Dow down by 105 points. The Nasdaq dropped 387, with the S&P 500 lower by 38. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-555-2085. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-555-2085 or biglou.com.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says violent far-left political terrorism can no longer be denied, as he urges more than 60 countries gathered in Washington to treat the threat as a global counterterrorism priority. We hear more on the story from correspondent Bernie Bennett reporting from Washington.
Speaking at the opening of a State Department ministerial attended by roughly 65 foreign delegations, Rubio said governments had spent too long overlooking what he described as a resurgence of transnational far-left extremist violence and called for greater international cooperation to counter it. Rubio described radical leftism as a, quote, poisonous resentment cloaked in the language of equality and justice. Rubio said the Trump administration is rebuilding the U.S. counterterrorism strategy around what it views as an increasingly transnational threat. Bernie Bennett in Washington.
News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight will be humid with increasing clouds and a low of 77. Tomorrow, expect humidity with clouds breaking for some sunshine with a chance of a thunderstorm in spots during the afternoon and a high of 93. Tomorrow night will be partly cloudy and humid with a low of 78. Saturday will bring partly sunny skies and humidity with a high of 94. Sunday is set to be mostly sunny with a high of 95. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
This program is brought to you in part by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals.
Call 281-441-4179.
Be a Planner show host Nathan Ross wants to remind you, please consider all the syndication terms of your private real estate partnership. By understanding the syndication math, Nathan can help you assess the benefits of ownership. Visit beaplanner.com or tune in each Sunday at 7 a.m. for the Be a Planner show with Nathan Ross, CPA, on KSEV.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today, my friend for nearly 40 years, at 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisXradio. ChrisXradio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
ChrisX.
Is it Friday already? Well, not technically, not for everybody else. But it is for us. That's how we roll here on the program. Good afternoon. Welcome to ChrisXradio. I am the aforementioned X-Man. Glad to have you here with us on our Friday show on Thursday. That's right, we do our Friday show on Thursday because the Amigos take over tomorrow from 4 to 6. And as you know, two objects cannot exist in the same space, so one has to move. So guess who ends up low man on the totem pole? This guy right here, this guy. I've only been on for like 8 years. The Amigos have been on for like a quarter of a century. Maybe longer. So they get priority. So they take over every Friday from 4 to 6. We manipulate the time-space continuum and move our Friday show to Thursday. So here we go. It is our Friday show on Thursday. We'll talk about whatever is on your mind today. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. And, of course, we like to kick it off with Rebecca Black. She's kind of hot, but she's gay, but she's not gay, and she's trans, and she's everything. But she's, well, I mean, Lucas, the producer, told me that. She's always getting down on Friday. Of course, we're looking forward to the weekend. Yeah! She's actually a performer, which is smart, but this is the greatest song that... No, it's not. I love how Leo Morciolo did his version. It's a little better. Getting down on Friday. And he pronounces getting properly. Partying, partying, yeah. Partying, partying, yeah. Fun, 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 fun. Looking forward to the weekend. Yeah, we look so much forward to the weekend. We started off before everybody else. Come on, let's go Friday. Oh, my God. I got so much to cover on today's program. But for those of you that have paid attention to the program, you understand, you know what we do on Fridays. It's open lines. We'll talk about whatever is on your mind today. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. Oh, there's a solo. He rocks it out. It's on YouTube. You can find Leo Morciolo as Frog Leap Studios. Frog Leap Studios. He's a Norwegian guy. He's Norwegian. Those Norwegians have the strangest accents. Actually, it's almost charming. But then when you listen to them speak their language, it's a lot more guttural. Not as guttural as German. Not as bad as Deutsch, but it's very Norwegian. And it's funny because he's this guy that plays all this music himself. He does the drums, the guitar, the bass, sings, and he takes these songs like Friday from Rebecca Black and then metals them out and does a really good job at it. He's actually very good. He's very talented. And then I snapped, I'm like, oh, yeah, they're up in Norwegia. And it's very cold up there most of the year. So during the winter months, you're not going to be doing a whole lot of outdoor activities. So this dude has this big, badass studio he's built with all of his guitars and things hanging on the walls, and he gets in and records these songs, and he's very talented. So I always like going to his page every so often to see if he's done something new. I've gone and watched, of course, I don't even know how many of his videos, but he has done a ton of them, and all of his remakes are pretty darn good. Some are goofy, and he does videos for all of them, which I don't quite understand. This is something where I've kind of stepped away from music a little bit now that I've been doing talk radio for 20 years, is the music aspect of it. When you're going and remaking other people's music, does he have to go get permission from the artist in order to do that? Or does he just simply remake their music and then go? I'm not sure how that works. How does he not get in trouble? So, but he doesn't. He monetizes it. He has, I guess, a Patreon account, some of the others, and I don't know if it's his full-time or part-time job. He's also a musician, and he plays out in those parts of the world, and he does tours and things. But he's very talented. And some of the videos, he'll bring his daughter in, or at least he did. I haven't watched lately, so I guess I got to go and watch some of his latest stuff. But anyway, he does a good job. I always enjoy his work. His name is Leo Morciolo, and it's Frog Leap Studios on YouTube, so if you want to go check him out. So that's fun stuff. All right, so it is our Friday show on Thursday. We'll be taking your phone calls. I see you guys are already lining up, so I'll make a point to get to you here shortly at 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. Okay, there's a lot going on. We'll start off here a little closer to home. After the FBI had filed to obtain a search warrant to look through Lorenzo Salgado Araujo's van, the family is claiming that the substance that officials found was homemade electrolyte mix. Their attorney is saying this. It's a drink mix. It's not crystal meth. So following the July 9th shooting of Araujo, an FBI special agent said he inspected the vehicle and observed in plain view several plastic bags with what appeared to be crystal-like substances packaged in small plastic bags. I saw the pictures. It looked like drugs. A warrant, which was filed on July 14th, stated that their searches of the target and the vehicle may yield evidence that the crimes committed and violations of drug offenses. Now, just one day after the filing, the family of Araujo claimed through their attorney, Ruby Powers, that the substances were not drugs, but a drink mixture, an electrolyte mixture. Quote, after consulting with my client and his family, our understanding is that this was granulated salt, which is paired with lemon and water as a homemade electrolyte mix used by outdoor workers in extreme Texas heat. Powers said in an official statement, the Harris County District Attorney's Office also shared that it didn't suspect the substances collected were drugs. On Thursday, District Attorney Sean Tier shared on social media that based on what we've learned about the passengers, it's inconsistent that drugs were in the van. Then again, he is also the same guy that went on national television, because this is a national story, and said this. Just once again, you have to listen very carefully to the words he uses.
Harris County District Attorney Sean Thierry told us that he's investigating this case and that he's never seen anything like this in his 20 years in law enforcement.
It appears from everything we've seen that either these agents are completely untrained or intentionally putting themselves in situations where they can justify firing into cars.
Okay, first of all, has he seen something that we haven't? Has he seen video that we have not seen? And once again, this is the same playbook that you see from the lamestream media. This is from, I think, ABC News. The same playbook that you see over and over again from the propaganda apparatus of the Democrat cult. Yeah, the ICE, they're completely inept. Well, maybe not. The last one, because we did get to see the body-worn footage from the body cams. This one, there are no body cams. But from the last one with the Renee Good, that she actually did hit the gas pedal, actually hit, an ICE agent, a federal agent, and that was why he fired upon her, ended up killing her. This one we don't know. We can't see the footage. I haven't seen it. But we have seen footage of the van running from the ICE vehicles. Okay. So we saw that. And then you see there's another thing where they're pulling people out of the vehicle. But so we don't know if it's drugs or if it's just a granulated mixture of electrolytes because I guess they're day laborers. From what I'm told, all of them are illegal aliens that were in the vehicle with Mr. Araujo. Nobody else was harmed in it. So Mr. Tier, the Harris County District Attorney's assessment that ICE agents are deliberately putting themselves in a position so they can shoot people and kill them. We're supposed to believe this is the leading law enforcement agent in Harris County is alluding that federal agents are putting themselves in positions so they can murder people and get away with it. That sounds more like a political take than it does a legal take. And he says, from what we've seen, what have you seen, Mr. Tier? We know he is a George Soros-funded candidate, right? The last one, who was the George Soros-funded candidate, wasn't radical enough for them, so they had to get rid of her, and then replaced her with him, Sean Tier, who is a leftist dirtbag. He is an extreme leftist, and now here he is espousing the talking points of the left. Okay. He has some information that nobody else has, that ICE agents are deliberately murdering people. That's what the Democrats want us to believe. So far, this is at least the third time they've tried to push this narrative, and the other times, we saw that was clearly not the case. One was a woman who was ignoring federal agents' commands, who inserted herself in the middle of an ICE operation, and then, once again, floored it, trying to escape, I guess, after ignoring commands, hit an ICE agent and was shot. And then, once again, you go on social media, the leftists are still pushing, yeah, that's what they said about Renee Good. Well, she actually did it. You just ignore that part. And then now you've got this dirtbag in Harris County, Sean Tier, the George Soros-funded candidate. He's the guy espousing those same talking points. And then they're using them up with shooting in Maine as well. And then the other thing, too, is we don't have body cam footage. Why don't we have body cam footage? Why don't ICE agents have body cams? Oh, that's right. They were backed up because the very same political party of Sean Tier did the longest shutdown in U.S. history and prevented funding from ICE so they could have the body-worn cameras. Wow. It's almost like a concerted effort to make sure they can push their narrative. Facts be damned. Almost. And then there's the other underlying element. Sean Tier and Harris County District Attorney's Office wants to investigate federal officials. They need money from Harris County, who is in a budget shortage. They're talking about people need to be prepared to receive lack of services. You're not going to get as many services because we don't have the money for it. But they are going to provide money. Have they provided it for Sean Tier yet to investigate ICE officials? These are how the dirtbag, the communists operate. They never stop. And they're not going to stop. Anyway, that's just one thing we got for today. Authorities also confirmed one death today as catastrophic flash flooding has continued across the Texas Hill Country. Governor Abbot has reported more than 1,300 responders deployed and dozens of rescues underway as rivers remain dangerously high. This is almost a year to the day. What do we, how many days off? About 12 days off from last year? You remember what happened on July 4th of last year, that historic and catastrophic flooding in the Hill Country. Here it is again. Maybe these cycles aren't as crazy as people think. No, it's terrible. But I was watching video of deer floating downstream in this flooding, and at least one person has died. So that's terrible. Also, a sort of related story, Governor Abbott has announced relief for Texas homeowners as they're facing the skyrocketing home insurance costs. The governor's calling for $400 million in these funded grant programs to help Texans pay for stronger roofs because this crazy weather brings, things like, hail and whatever else. And they're trying to help because you've got the annual premium in Texas was $1,961. Was that last year? No, that was 2019. Now in 2025, leading up to this year, $3,506. Homeowners insurance has skyrocketed, and it's insane. It's a huge jump. Okay, also tonight we have the president will address the nation tonight, so we can get into that. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, he offered a bizarre response to the Trump administration deporting this illegal alien child molester that he tried to protect. Walz did. The guy they pardoned, the guy who had been raping and molesting a 10-year-old girl, he did for a couple of years. And then Tim Walz was like, is anyone any safer from us deporting him? Well, at least one 10-year-old American citizen is. Walz is a clown. This guy's a complete and utter clown. Also, if we get time, we can talk about the Federal Communications Commission preparing to rule that the ABC's The View is actually not a bona fide news program. So this may upend more than a couple of decades of precedent regarding equal time rules for political candidates, because that's what these sort of shows have devolved into. And something I haven't talked about all week, and we'll get into this, got some ChrisX Files for you today. The Pentagon released the third batch or fourth of UFO files last Friday. And they got very little coverage in the media. Got a little bit, but very little. I watched the videos and looked at some of the pictures. There are some really strange things, and we'll cover that on today's program as well. And whatever you guys want to talk about. Once again, that's just all I've just got set aside right there. We can cover it, but we'll talk about what you guys want to cover. We got Mike and Tomball, Robert and Pearland, and you can get in if you want as well. 281-558 KSEV. Let's take a very short break. You're listening to ChrisX Radio here on our Friday show on Thursday. That's right, we move our Friday show to Thursday because got to get you ready for the Amigos, who will take over tomorrow from 4 to 6. We're just simply plowing the road for the Amigos, as Senator Betancourt likes to say. 281-558-5738.
KSEV! KSEV!
The resistance is futile. ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio.
Hey, let me ask you a quick question. How many times have you switched your health insurance in the last few years? How many times have you wanted to switch your health insurance the last few years? If you're in good health and pay your own insurance, you don't have to settle for scary high deductibles or unaffordable premiums. Let American Medical Plans find the right plan for you at a price you can afford. Call 833-500-PLAN. No, this is not some ridiculous Obamacare plan with no doctors and a limited HMO. And it's not some rinky-dink insurance company that doesn't cover a single claim. No, this is real coverage for you and your family. Go to the doctors and hospitals you choose. Stop shopping around hunting for the best deal. American Medical Plans will do the hunting for you. Get you a better plan at a better price. You owe it to yourself to see what they can do for you. Get it done before the rates go up. Call American Medical Plans, 833-500-PLAN. That's 833-500-7526. Or go to AmericanMedicalPlans.com. American Medical Plans. Quality plans managed by you, not the government.
You know, where we go in life matters, and what we do matters, and we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage. and we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. You know, we live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source. And these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate. Our country's founding fathers drafted a document that is the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. My friends at O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe we're at a precipice in time where we must take back our country. We must stand up for our freedoms or lose them forever. Please don't sit idle and let it slip away. Don't let anyone force you to do something you choose not to. As JFK said, if not us, who? If not now, when? If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. I'm Kevin O'Hara. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
And now, back to ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio on the voice of Texas.
Do you guys remember when the Foo Fighters rocked? Do they still rock? I don't know. Their recent stuff isn't as good as their old stuff. It just, because then again, I don't know. There's not a lot of good music coming out these days. That's for sure. I mean, I know generally we only play the newer music, according to Ben Strusand, from 35 years ago. No, that's not true. Like I said, I know he likes a little older music. And we like some good stuff. It's so funny listening to him every Friday with the judge when the judge is like, is that good enough for you? Do you like that, Ben? And Ben's like, yeah, no, depending on who he's playing. That is one of my favorite segments at the judge. In fact, it's his only redeeming quality because politically. But him playing the music of those that we lost or celebrating birthdays and that kind of stuff, that's really an endearing moment. You realize the judge isn't a terrible guy. He's not a terrible guy. His politics just hail from a part of his body where Chuck Schumer would be really familiar with, and Eric Swalwell. I'll just say that. All right, welcome back to ChrisX Radio. It is our Friday show on Thursday. As promised, we always like to take your phone calls on this day. We'll talk about whatever is on your mind. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. Let's go right to the phones, pick up with Mike, who's been patiently holding in Tomball. Mike, thanks for hanging on. Welcome to ChrisX Radio.
Hi, Chris. Afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike.
Senate race in Texas on my mind. After the runoff, Paxton has been real quiet about campaigning. I don't see him on the stump. I don't see any ads. He has an occasional appearance on national. But I'll remind Mr. Paxton that Ted Cruz almost got beat by Beto O'Rourke in 2018. You can't take a Senate race for granted and think you're going to win it automatically. Beto O'Rourke got within 2.5 points of beating Ted Cruz. And this could, with the polls being even, Steven, or within the margin of error right now between Tellerico and Cruz, it worries me. The Democrats are going to pour millions and millions and millions of dollars in. If he waits too late to frame the narrative, it could be too late overall. And Cruz had to bring in President Trump to push him over the top in 2018. That may be what happens again here. But it's kind of concerning. I don't see what a Senate candidate should be doing, in my opinion, right now.
Well, you make some good points. One is you cannot take this race for granted because, one, it is There is no incumbent now, so you got two guys vying for the seat. You're absolutely right. The Democrats are, not only are they going to spend millions, they're probably going to spend in the neighborhood of $150 million to try to get that seat, which, of course, warrants more money from the Republican side. I have actually seen, I've seen ads and things for Ken Paxton on social media. I don't know if you're on social media, but he's doing some campaigning on there. I think he's also waiting to sort of ramp up as we get a little closer, which I do believe that is the case. There's a big fundraiser for him coming up here very soon, and then there's another big one coming up, I think, is it September in Dallas? So they're going to be trying to raise a lot of money to offset that. But he has been relatively quiet. And I agree with that. He's not out there just like hitting the campaign trail. And he's also still working as Attorney General. He is still going and filing lawsuits and doing things. So there's a lot going on, but you're just not seeing a lot of it campaign-wise. And I think you're absolutely 100% correct. If he takes Tallarico lightly with the money the Democrats will pour into that race to try and convince the uninformed voters that this guy's some kind of moderate and represents Texas, we could lose that seat, and that's a risk we just cannot afford.
Yeah, I agree. Your analysis is spot on. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the call, Mike. Always good to hear from you. No, I agree with his assessment. Yeah. If they take that seat lightly, they can't. The Republicans are probably going to have to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 million, too, just to try to offset the insanity, because the Democrats will not only get $150 million, whatever they end up spending, but then they get all of the free advertising from the propaganda media, the propaganda apparatus of the Democrat cult, the ABCs, the NBCs, the CBS's, the CNN's, the Ms. Now's, the you name it. So they're going to get, all of this free advertising in the form of, quote, news coverage. Not to mention things like The View. The FCC is preparing to rule that they're not bona fide news. And now they're going to have to start, if they're going to have political candidates on, they need to have equal time. And that's sort of a bit of a game changer for network news. Well, they're not news. I guess early on when they had Barbara Walters on there, it was a little different. It wasn't all political. It was just a henpeck women's chat show that would be on during the midday. But now all it is left-wing espousing of, these crazy women that get on there with no knowledge of what they're even talking about. And all they do is espouse left-wing talking points. And then they bring on left-wing candidates and then promote them. And occasionally they'll bring on, J.D. Vance or somebody else, and then they're insane. But who watches that show? Women, people that are unemployed, not anybody else. They didn't think they have to follow the rules. In fact, they still don't think they should have to follow the rules. They think they should be able to bring on who they want to bring on. Once again, I'm on a program here where I always offer equal time to any candidate who's running. If I have a candidate on, his opposing candidate can come on. I always offer equal time. That's all they got to do is offer it. They may have to get in the business of doing it that way as well. But that being said, once again, going back in the case of James Tallarico, this guy's a weirdo, and he's already spending, these ads that are running around parading him as a moderate who worked so hard to cut our taxes in Texas and lower, running on affordability and all of these things that he has voted against. 100%. It's insane. All right, tell you what, let's take a break. We'll go take a break. We'll come back. We got the Cracker Smoker out in Pearland. I was wondering how old Cracker Croker run on Robert. Wondering how he's doing. He wants to talk about the Strait of Hormuz. Maybe the only straight thing that he talks about. Wait, what? I can't get into the jokes too early. I don't want to. I'm trying not. I promise I'm not trying to jump in on your material, Robert. So we'll go to Robert here on the other side. If you want to join us, you're listening to ChrisX Radio. It is our Friday show on Thursday. What's on your mind today? 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. And Robert, hopefully he has a good signal. Hopefully he's not calling us from some faraway planet. I mean, way past Mars or Jupiter or Saturn. There's no telling. 281-558-KSEV. We'll be right back.
Voice of Texas.
Under the Constitution, America is a republic.
The First Amendment secures our ability to change our political laws by protecting our rights to religion, assembly, press, petition, and speech. We're the only country born from the idea that people must be free to pursue their happiness, uninhibited by the government. This has kept us as one nation under God through 2.5 centuries of peaceful transition of power. The United States are at the top of the world today, but the graveyard of history is full of the remains of once mighty empires. Will our republic degenerate into an oligarchy, as Rome did 2,000 years ago? Or is the best yet to come for the land of the free? Jefferson warned how easy it is for liberty to yield and government to gain ground. This process is not unstoppable. The future of America depends on our support for the principles of the Constitution. It's an American thing.
Liberty. It's an American thing. From AmericanThing.org.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
Finding a reputable business shouldn't require luck or chance. But how can you tell who you can trust? Always look for the sign of a better business and find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
I started my first business when I was 12, mowing lawns for about $5 a yard. I learned if you do the job right, people trust you and customers care that you show up and do what you say you're going to do. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Garage Door Doctor. From garage door repairs to upgrades, we show up, we stand behind every job. We only use the best parts and springs guaranteed to last a lifetime. When you care about the people you serve, you work harder and it shows. Call Garage Door Doctor today or schedule online at garagedoordoctor.biz.
Garage Door Doctor. ChrisX here to tell you about Humble Amco Transmission and AC Specialists. People who know go to Amco. I personally trust Jay Streckfus and Humble Amco with all of my vehicle's needs. With complete car care, they'll take care of all of your auto needs as well. Always a free check engine light inspection, and tell them that ChrisX sent you for a free engine scan. Call Jay today at 281-446-0862. That's 281-446-0862, or online at humbleamco.com.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight will be humid with increasing clouds and a low of 77. Tomorrow, expect humidity with clouds breaking for some sunshine with a chance of a thunderstorm in spots during the afternoon and a high of 93. Tomorrow night will be partly cloudy and humid with a low of 78. Saturday will bring partly sunny skies and humidity with a high of 94. Sunday is set to be mostly sunny with a high of 95. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
The voice of Texas, the voice of reason. ChrisXradio. ChrisXradio.
There you go, a little Godsmack. We can do that. Man, I miss this kind of rock. This is aggressive and has an edge. Anyway, welcome back to ChrisX Radio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. Glad to have you here on our Friday show on Thursday. What is on your mind today? 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. We'll literally talk about whatever's on your mind. Oh, don't worry. I've got some ChrisX Files. I'm going to hit that here a little later in the program. It's funny because the ChrisX Files keep getting dropped on Friday. I'm sorry. The UFO files keep getting dropped on Fridays. So usually by Monday, they've been out for a while, and then they sort of get buried and sort of go away because this drip, drip, drip method is doing exactly what it's designed to do. So it sort of just kind of gets, nobody cares anymore. This last batch that they dropped has some really weird stuff, some really weird things. So, well, I'll go over some of that here when I get time, but we're going to be taking your calls, and, of course, whatever is on your mind, we'll talk about it. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. Let's go to the phones. Looks like we got old Robert listening out in Pearland. He's affectionately known as the Murder Hornet. Robert, thank you for hanging on. Welcome to ChrisX Radio.
Thank you, Chris. Now, we've heard that Democrats would not have any standards if it weren't for double standards. I'd like to add, if it weren't for illegal immigrant laborers, Democrats would have no laborers at all. Sorry, Susan.
Hey, you
Fred,
could
I'm
upset
sorry.
Miss Pearland.
Hold on a second. Sorry, just tuning up the cowbell. Oh, that's a perfect C flat. All right.
That is.
So
that is
speaking of names,
I thought it was a Q sharp, but please go.
well, you're very good on tonal quality. E. Jean Carroll. What kind of a name is E. Jean? That's not a name. I've heard of Eugene, but not E. Jean, you know?
Maybe it's the female version of Eugene, or it could be just blue jeans, but she couldn't afford the blue or the B, the L, or the U, just the E.
I'll take a B. Speaking of names, Chris, I'm so glad to not have to hear the name Scram Faster every 34 seconds anymore, man. I truly got tired of Scam Bastard and all these hijinks that made Thumper Biden look like a Boy Scout. Man, I'm glad that is over.
Yeah, hey, by the way, hold on. Before you go any further, talking about, well, we can talk about Humper, but his dad has a book coming out. He's releasing his memoir shortly after the midterms. Here's my question. Are you going to buy a copy of that book, or are you just going to be like me and get the audio version of it and then try to understand what he's saying?
I think I can get the whole impact just by watching my cat take a nap.
Okay,
so
that's
Chris, the Village People have a song, YMCA. In it, the lyrics say, "It's fun to stay at the YMCA." I figured it's because of the Y and the M. Also, the guy with the mustache died recently, and he was the policeman. But I don't believe he died. I think all the other members of the group just defunded him. The writers have woke up from their summer slumber. Chris, I got to ask you.
Possible.
Go ahead.
Well, it's very possible they just simply defunded him, and you're right. I don't know if they'll replace him or if he's been replaced or any of the original, because he was the original member of the whatever they are. But once again, they're people in a village of some sort. I'm not quite sure. But are any of the original members left in the band?
All of them, except them, that one guy, and he's broke. So I got a question. Is the Galveston Tower working anymore? Is that now the Spanish language antenna? Dude, I didn't even know you spoke Spanish.
Well, yo hablo español muy bien. Okay, well, not muy bien, muy poquito actually. So yes, I do speak Spanish. I try not to speak Spanish here on KSEV. I'm not quite sure what happened with that other signal. I think it disappeared on us, and maybe it has gone away. I'm not sure. I haven't heard the final update. But are they playing Spanish now? Is that what's happening? I don't even know what's going on.
Yes, they're doing ICE outreach.
Well, hopefully they're playing Ice Ice Baby, so that'll work.
Right. So, Chris, newsflash: chickens do not have fingers; they have claws, and all day long these claws dig up chicken poop. Do you really want to eat that with honey mustard?
A delicacy in Asia is eating chicken feet. Did you know that chickens have feet?
Yes, I do that because they can see them walking.
Okay, well, do me a favor and take that chicken foot out of your mouth before you finish your statement today.
You better get that chicken foot out your mouth. Hey, look, last week an elderly couple in their 80s were arrested on suspicion of drug distribution and were found to have 345 pounds of cocaine in their possession. When asked why they did it, they said, when you get older, you get tired real easy. Also, Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, and that's a crime. Okay, I only got two more for you. So, Chris,
was actually, hold on. Let me savor that one for a second. That was actually pretty good. I'm going to savor it. Okay, move on to the next joke.
Thank you. 3, 2, 1. Well, my world is shattered. One of my best friends, a high-class guy, let me down this week with a very disappointing statement that made me question our whole friendship. A Christian man, Chris, high ethics, a man of the people, a patriot. This stalwart example of class and breeding gets on the radio this week and says right into the mic, "Suck it, bitches." I fell to my knees and prayed.
Did he actually just say that, or was he quoting someone else?
The words came out of his mouth, and my world caved in.
Man, whoever that guy was, he should be pulled off the air immediately.
FCC. Anyhow,
he's probably in the
finally,
Epstein files.
Finally, aging is, and you already mentioned this, by the way, aging is an interesting thing. And the Strait of Hormuz is still a tinderbox. This week, Trump was accused of, quote, meddling in the canal, unquote. So Trump must be mellowing. He's gone from outright grabbing to just meddling. Oh, Lord, I apologize to all the little pygmies down in New Guinea.
Well, somebody said one time that he would grab people by the pygmy. So, and I hear that in the background. That just, first of all, you always, you get that. I did have a question for you, though, before you run on, Robert.
Yes, sir.
You heard last week, I don't know if you were listening, but John Miller called in following your call. Do you have an assessment of John
I have
Miller's
it on
call?
tape.
Oh, okay. You got wait. Do you have like one of those old cassette recorders and recorded that way?
No, I have something called a podcast.
Okay, I was just wondering how you had things on tape. Do you? So you actually heard John Miller,
reel to reel.
Oh, that's right. I forget you're an old school musician from the 60s, the 70s. Were you around in the 50s?
Yes, I was. So, Chris, I want to tell you that last joke was not a granddad skit at all.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we're clear on that. Did you have something else to correct me on?
No, I think we're good. Thank you for the call, Robert. I appreciate it. Always good to hear from Robert. It's funny, like I said, whenever he calls in, every now and then I like to hear from John Miller, who will occasionally call. Oh, no, there's the hotline ringing. There you got it. I guess it's time to go. And we have a special hotline for certain people, so I know I'm pretty sure it's John Miller. Let's go ahead and go to the phones. All right, John Miller, is that you? Do we got you on the line?
ChrisXradio, yeah, listen, I'm on the line, okay? I just listened to that cracker croaker go on, and he was abusing some cat, and then he abuses a cowbell. Is there anything that he else abuses other than our ears when he calls in? Is there anything else on you?
I can't really come up with anything other than he just likes to abuse our ears. He gets new writers from time to time. That's always good.
ChrisX, I don't care. I don't even want to hear about it. Listen, President Trump will be taking the airwaves this evening around 9 p.m. Eastern. He's going to be talking to America. I've heard through the grapevine that ABC and NBC will not be carrying the program, okay? They're not going to carry his address to the nation, which only tells me one thing. They should be tarred and feathered and hinded and quartered, and I don't even know if that's a real word. But that's what they should happen to them with ABC, home of The View, don't forget, and NBC, fake news, okay? All right, ChrisX, just tell that guy, Run On Robert, to run along and continue doing what he does, which is not make people laugh and take airport time. That's all he does. I gotta go.
Thank you, John Miller. I love when he always calls in right after Run On Robert, because it's always a fun juxtaposition. All right, let's take a short break. You're listening to ChrisX Radio. I appreciate the call from Robert out in Pearland. Appreciate hearing from John Miller. I liked how he called in to let us know the president was addressing the nation. And I heard rumors of that as well, that NBC and ABC won't be carrying the speech because he's pushing that fake news election fraud. You know, the fraud that they wouldn't let anyone investigate while telling us that there's nothing happened, and it was the most transparent election, and there absolutely was no misdeeds. But you can't look at it, and kind of like how they want to be with ICE agents. You can't look at them, but we've come to the conclusion that they're just murdering people, because that's the actual murderers. The Democrats will protect at all costs. But when it comes to federal agents trying to do their job, no, they're murderers. Oh, dear Lord. All right, you're listening to ChrisX Radio. Don't go away. We'll be right back. It is our Friday show on Thursday, 281-558-KSEV.
Radio, Texas born, Texas raised, the voice of Texas.
Tune in to the Ray Massey Reverse Mortgage Show each Friday at 1 p.m. and Saturdays at 3 p.m. with Trabo Mortgage. Or call Ray directly at 855-266-1600 or online at reversemortgages4Texans.com.
Hey y'all, it's Craig Collins. I wanted to let you know that my show airs every afternoon on KSEV from 6 to 7 p.m. I also wanted to encourage you to follow our social media pages. We are now live streaming most of our local content on KSEV Radio's YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter pages, as well as some of our select shows on KSEV Radio's Facebook page. Once again, please follow us at KSEV Radio on YouTube, Rumble, and X. And please follow me at Radio Craig C on X and on Facebook.
Sunscreen? Check. Pool float? Check. Friends texting, what should I bring? Easy. With the largest selection, the lowest prices, and locations all over Texas, Specs is the ultimate destination for summer. Shop Specs! Kick off the fun during Specs Summer Sale with big savings on ice-cold cans, refreshing wines, and every kind of sip under the sun. Specs Wines, Spirits, and Finer Foods. The fun starts here.
Hi, this is Louis Flory. You've been relying on Ability Tree experts for decades to protect and maintain the valuable trees on your property. You can continue to rely on the same professional services. So call Ability Tree experts at 281-441-4179 today.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home and in need of the best realtors out there, look no further than the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. They've instilled in each and every member of their team hard work and honest values. And believe me, it's paid off. They truly know the Houston market and what it takes to get a home sold quickly and at top dollar and how to get the best deal possible for your home purchase. They're employee-owned. They care about their clients, so they always go the extra mile to ensure each sale and purchase is seamless and smooth. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group have been a top producing real estate team for over 2 decades. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group at 281-440-7900 or see for yourself and go online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com. They sell over 1,000 homes a year and they know every inch of the buying and selling market in Houston. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. I chose them as my realtor. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, your realtors for life. 281-440-7900 or see for yourself online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com.
That's the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, brokered by EXP.
Hey, it's Joe Pags coming up. President Trump is slated to do a big speech tonight. The inside scoop is he's going to talk about the 2020 election. What do you think he's going to say? That plus Matt O'Brien from FAIR, breaking down the real immigration stats and more on the Joe Pags Show. Tonight at 7 on KSEV, still the voice of Texas.
What if you could invest in real estate for pennies on the dollar? Find out how this Saturday at 2 p.m. on the Check a Pro radio show, when tax lien certificate expert Ted Thomas reveals one of America's best-kept investment secrets. Tune in this Saturday at 2 p.m.
ChrisXradio. Radio.
You know, I guess my claim to fame will be when Dr. Mobley, I think he listened one time and heard this song and wanted to know where I got it. Or somebody did. Someone asked me about it because it's, you know, Staying Alive, which fits right in with Dr. Mobley's program here on KSEV. So he's a doctor. He wants people to stay alive. So that was good. Welcome back to ChrisXradio Radio. It is our Friday show on Thursday. You reached the final segment of the first hour. Don't you go anywhere. We got hour number 2, locked and loaded. A couple of other things, too, and I'll get back to Staying Alive here in just a second. Well, the Bee Gees. Got emails during the break. I love when I get emails. The Cracker Smoker in Pearland occasionally triggers an email. Somebody's got his Thai wife, and I said I was talking about chicken feet. Had to get that chicken foot out of his mouth. His Thai wife loves chicken feet and also likes pig feet. They're like delicacies in Asia, in Korea, in Thailand, in China. They love that stuff. When it comes to chicken feet, first of all, pigs are filthy animals. They eat and root in their own feces. So I just don't dig on swine. That's all. So there's that. And then second of all, when it comes to chicken feet, what is there to eat other than the skin? There's nothing there. So I don't understand. And it was funny because I remember talking to my Chinese friend, and they're like, well, why don't you eat this? Or they eat jellyfish there too. I was like, why don't you eat jellyfish? And I'm like, because I live in this place called America, and we have something called food. so I'm not required to eat things like that or chocolate-covered ants No, I don't have to eat that kind of stuff. We live in America, and we have food here, and if you don't believe me, look at all of the people that just came and visited for the World Cup with FIFA and listen to what they say about our food here. Once you've had Whataburger, In-N-Out, McDonald's, Buc-ee's, once you've had Texas barbecue or Texas steak, how can you go back to eating pig's feet or go back to eating chicken feet? There's no meat on them. There's a lot. When you eat Texas steak, that's meat. That's real meat, and it's good. I was kind of surprised that John Miller didn't comment on the chicken feet comment. But I was kind of surprised. Then again, like I said, you had Run On Robert commenting about chicken's fingers, which I think they do have fingers hidden under those wings. They're just hard to see. All right, let's go right back to the phones. It is our Friday show on Thursday. What is on your mind today? 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. Looks like we got El Marco out in Fulshire. Hey, El Marco, thanks for hanging on. Welcome to ChrisX Radio.
Hey, Chris. Yeah, I would say that, too. It's a delicacy, but what is there? There ain't any meat on those chicken feet, I would think. So
I can't see any.
Talk about our delicacies. If we introduce them to a marinated Nutra, our wonderful Cajun friends cooking a little bit of that up. What do you think?
Do Cajuns really eat Nutria?
Yes, they do. Yeah, they do.
Oh, my God.
I'm not, but yes.
That would be like eating a possum, and I guess maybe they eat those too. I'm not going to eat possum. I'm not going to eat Nutria. There's certain things I'm not going to eat. Gar. I'm not going to eat those sort of things. I'm going to stick with the Texas delicacies. We've got steak, and we've got Texas barbecue, and we have really good food here. So there's no need for us to have any of that, Marco. I agree with you. There's no meat on a chicken feet, and we're just not going to eat it.
Okay, well, one question before I raise my point. After you said that, and it says, so what does it take for me to get on your hotline? I either have to have sound effects when I'm traveling here, or do a poor man's impression of Trump.
Well, either of those could work, or if you happen to have a trusty cowbell nearby, sometimes you can get in and get on the hotline.
Okay, wow, that's good. I like that. Well, my reason for my call is. When I don't know whether you brought it up or the other caller brought it up, but I had read I think a day or two ago, and that supposedly Trump did settle with Jean Carroll for that the $5 million one, at least the civil one. I would have figured he would have fought that to the end, that he was going to try and get a retrial, because there was absolutely no facts, nothing, no witnesses that could corroborate anything that she did, and he just it was basically a damn. A jury that would hang him no matter what, But I thought that he was going to fight that, take it to a different court or something.
I don't know.
Did you hear something about that?
I heard a little bit about it, but I don't know if he paid it or if it's still, if I'm not mistaken, it's still going through the legal process. He's appealing it, so I don't know if he's actually paid it or he had to pay it, like they forced him to pay all that other money in. So I don't know if he paid her or not. In fact, from what I've heard, is he's fighting it to the very end. So we shall see. I'll look it up and see if I can find out whether he actually paid it or not. I don't know if he actually did.
Right, and I thought so too. Still, from what I heard from more of the reliables, but now you on YouTube, there's so much BS AI and people throwing crap up there, and that you can't really be sure unless you check 4 or 5 different sources to validate it. But
yeah, according to the New York Times, well, there you go. They say that Trump has, E. Jean Carroll has received $5.6 million payment from Trump in the civil case. They say he exhausted his appeals last month, prompting the judge to order the money to be paid. I don't know if that will continue to where if he's going to continue, I guess, fighting it. I'm not sure. Well, also, there's a court that ordered him to pay $80 or $90 million for defamation.
Yeah, and they threw that out. They said it was excessive no matter what. But I mean, that again, she should even be paid a penny because I mean, all the facts were convoluted and disputed, and she said a dress that she had wasn't even out on the market until 7 or 8 years later. So the few things that she tried to tell were lies, and everything else was just she couldn't get the place straight where supposedly it happened, Had no witnesses, never lodged any formal police complaints or anything like that at any time. So
it was clearly a weaponized case against
him to the end.
Yeah, I agree with 100%. It was clearly weaponized. They got a weaponized jury that were simply going, because everything you just stated is true. She couldn't even purchase the dress that she claimed she was wearing on the date at the time. She couldn't remember the exact time. She said rape is sexy. She's a complete weirdo. She's a sex writer for a magazine. She's a very strange person. And the only logical conclusion that somehow this actually happened, and he didn't rape her, they just said he sexually assaulted her, which once again goes against what she said. It's utter insanity, but it shows what can happen if you're a public figure, I guess, and you get, like I said, they start weaponizing the justice system against you.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, look forward to seeing this speech by Trump tonight. It's going to open the door on a lot of this election BS. So, and it says it may have a direct impact on the two senators in Georgia too. So, but I'll hang up for now and let someone else get in there, Chris. But thanks as always for taking my call.
Absolutely. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it, Marco. Good to hear from you. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he covers. I'm going to see what he's going to cover, and then I'll be on in the morning with Matt Lockton, WBAP, and we'll break it down. But we'll see. I just know the Democrats will say it's all fake news even before it happens. Hour number 2 is up next.
AM 700 KSEV, Tomball, Houston, the voice of Texas.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. U.S. attacks on Iran intensify as Iran warns it will demolish American infrastructure in the region if the U.S. carries out President Trump's threats.
U.S. military footage released on Wednesday showed U.S. fighter jets taking off from an aircraft carrier at sea. U.S. strikes also reached into areas around Iran's capital, Tehran, showing a widening set of targets for the Americans. Iran retaliated early on Thursday with missile and drone fire targeting U.S. allies Bahrain, Jordan and Kuwait before dawn. An Iranian military spokesperson warned that Iran could launch widespread attacks on regional infrastructure if the U.S. hit Iranian bridges and power plants as threatened by President Trump. I'm Karen Shamas.
President Trump is making a primetime speech to the nation that's expected to include, among other topics, election issues.
The president has long insisted he won the 2020 presidential race. This comes even though the very people Mr. Trump appointed to oversee it say the vote count was accurate and he lost. This term, Mr. Trump has appointed people who support him on this issue. He's also launched a review of the 2020 voting.
Correspondent Andrew Stewart reporting. Authorities in Texas have rescued dozens of stranded drivers and people trapped in homes, and at least one person has died due to catastrophic flooding. Governor Greg Abbot said during a news conference Thursday that there has been one loss of life due to the disaster in Texas Hill Country. The region is still recovering from devastating floods of a year ago. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average down by 105 points. The Nasdaq dropped 387. The S&P 500 lower by 38. Oil near $79 a barrel. More at townhall.com.
With things moving fast to resolve the situation in the Middle East, the headlines may change, but the fundamentals haven't. America's debt continues to climb, and uncertainty still hangs over the global economy. That's why investors continue turning to one asset that has stood the test of time: physical gold and silver. For generations, gold has been viewed as a safe haven asset during periods of geopolitical tension and market volatility. That's why Advantage Gold wants to send you a free gold investment guide valued at $49, plus a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's acclaimed book, Our Dollar, Your Problem, when you call 800-900-8000. Discover why central banks are buying gold, why many Americans are diversifying with precious metals, and how a tax and penalty-free rollover into physical gold and silver may fit into your retirement strategy. Don't wait until the next crisis dominates the headlines. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 right now. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000.
Be a Planner show host Nathan Ross wants to remind you, please consider all the syndication terms of your private real estate partnership. By understanding the syndication math, Nathan can help you assess the benefits of ownership. Visit beaplanner.com or tune in each Sunday at 7 a.m. for the Be a Planner show with Nathan Ross CPA on KSEV.
This True Sand commentary is brought to you by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals. Call 281-441-4179.
From KSEV, here's political contributor Ben Strusand.
Most polling shows that Republicans are going to have a tough time winning majorities in both houses of Congress in November. Voters blame Trump for inflation and believe that many of the necessities they need to purchase have become unaffordable. 2 out of 3 voters don't believe that preventing Iran from building a nuclear weapon is worth the higher gas prices that they are paying. Voters never give a president credit for preventing bad things like a nuclear war from happening. President Trump should realize by now that the Islamic Republic will never agree to a deal that results in a Trump win. The mullahs read the polls and see the domestic political pressure to end the war. It's part of their strategy. We should stop chasing a bad deal. This does not mean that we should resume unlimited airstrikes, but rather targeted decapitation strikes against their leadership, as the Israelis used effectively. If Iranian leaders won't cut a deal, then let's get new ones. The real leverage we have against Iran is economic. We destroyed what Iran took decades to build. Their defense industrial base used to manufacture drones, missiles, and nuclear weapons. Inflation in Iran is running at 40%. The blockade collapsed the revenue stream used by the Revolutionary Guard Corps, their security services, and all the government infrastructure. If our blockade is allowed to continue and not stopped by Democrats and a few lame duck Republicans in Congress, we can eliminate the mullah's leverage over its people. We don't need regime change to pressure them into a better deal for us. Just perseverance. Intercepting what leaks out via Iran's shadow tanker fleet will speed the process. The best guess is this pressure will take 6 months to show results, right around the time of the elections. I'm Ben Strusand, and that's my view.
Ben Strusand, only on AM 700 KSEV.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today, my friend for nearly 40 years, at 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisX Radio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
ChrisX.
Good evening and welcome to the second hour of ChrisX Radio. Glad to have you here with us on our Friday show on Thursday. Oh man, they're showing some of the flooding up in Kerrville, up in Kerr County. Man, they're getting hit again, almost exactly a year later after the tragic flooding last year on July 4th. And then this year, man, they're getting floods again. It doesn't seem nearly as bad. Don't be wrong, it's bad. It's not good. But they're showing, I can see some cars washed down. I saw some deer getting washed away earlier. There's been at least one death. The governor was addressing, am I getting any update, but addressing what's going on. But there are cars that are flipped up upside down or pushed up inside of houses and things because of just that flood water does crazy stuff. So the hill country is getting hit hard. Well, that answers my question. Well, I didn't really have a question. I won't be going up there this weekend. But I probably will go up there maybe next weekend. It's really hot this time of year. But I got some things I need to do up there. Go up there and catch up with the ranch owners and see how they're doing. The ranch they have is fine. There's a creek that will get the water that goes through. But even the crazy catastrophic flooding that went through last year, it flooded out their creek and washed out the fence and stuff, but it didn't get anywhere near their home. But, man, when you start getting this kind of crazy weather up there, and once again, I know a lot of people freak out and they're like, "Oh my God, this is terrible." Well, seems to be cyclical. I've noticed that when it comes to the environment and when it comes to weather, we have a whole lot less control over the weather than Democrats would like to believe. They think they can come up with things like carbon credits and how much you spend, and that'll somehow affect the weather. No, they can't. I know there's some cloud seeding that they do, and that triggers rain, and there's that kind of stuff. But the reality is this stuff occurs naturally. And sometimes it's devastating. Sometimes it's really bad. And it's right now, man, they're getting hit pretty hard up there. We got a fair amount of rain this week in our area. So seems to have dried out for the most part, at least from where on my side of town. I didn't see any rain today, and it's dried up pretty quickly. Dried up enough for the guy to mow my yard. He did that early this morning. And it looks good. It needed to be mowed. So, anyway, welcome back to the program. It is our Friday show on Thursday, which means we'll talk about whatever is on your mind today. So whatever you guys want to talk about, give us a call. We'll talk about it. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. We got a call about Ken Paxton and his race, and then Trump's settling with E. Jean Carroll, and then which is just still so bizarre. If there was ever a case where you saw someone that just got run through the ringer and just garbage case, just giving this woman money. Total trash. Total disaster, okay? We started off the program with the FBI filing that search warrant to look through Lorenzo Salgado Araujo's van, the illegal immigrant that was shot and killed here in the Houston area by ICE on July the 9th. Well, an FBI special agent said he inspected the vehicle and observed in plain view several plastic bags with what appeared to be white crystal-like substances packaged in small plastic bags. I'm sure they will be testing those substances. The family of Mr. Araujo says that was not drugs at all, but it actually was a drink mixture. The attorney said after consulting with her client and the family, the understanding is this is granulated salt, which is paired with lemon and water as a homemade electrolyte mix used by outdoor workers in the extreme Texas heat. The Harris County District Attorney's Office shared that they didn't suspect the substances collected were drugs. On Thursday, District Attorney Sean Tier shared on social media that based on what we've learned about the passengers, it's inconsistent that drugs were in the van. But as I played in the first segment of the last hour, Sean Tier also said this when he was on Network News.
Harris County District Attorney Sean Tier told us that he's investigating this case and that he's never seen anything like this in his 20 years in law enforcement.
It appears from everything we've seen that either these agents are completely untrained or intentionally putting themselves in situations where they can justify firing into cars.
So according to the Harris County District Attorney, ICE agents are intentionally putting themselves in harm's way in order to justify shooting and murdering people, or they're just completely untrained, which we know is not the case. Sounds like a left-wing activist. Then again, he's a George Soros-funded candidate, and they had to replace the last George Soros-funded candidate in Harris County because she wasn't as extreme enough. Nothing says, hey, we need to really, go after criminals. Then again, they don't go after criminals in Harris County. They keep letting them go. Saw Andy Kahn posted something earlier today. Another guy on a warrant out committing more crimes. Hey, what a concept, huh? They keep doing that. If they would put people behind bars, we wouldn't have this problem. But left-wing activists like Sean Tier want to defund police, defund ICE, and then make up stories about how ICE agents are completely untrained or they're putting themselves in situations where they can justify murdering people. Is there any logical-minded person out there right now listening to this program that actually believes federal agents are just going around murdering people? These are the same people that pushed the lie when they were trying to defund police, that officers are running around murdering black men. And then it turned out that they shoot far less black men than any other race. In fact, the numbers could not be the exact opposite of what they've been pushing, and then they backed off that because the defunding of police led to a lot more black men being shot and killed and murdered by other black men. It was already happening. It just gets worse when you protect the murderers and the criminals and villainize the authorities. And that's what he's doing. My response to Sean Tier would be, wow, I have never seen a district attorney make statements like what he's saying with such little evidence to base these allegations he's making against ICE agents. He's either completely untrained as a law enforcement agent or he is a activist. I think it's pretty clear he's an activist. Okay, so I mentioned earlier President Trump will address the nation tonight. He's promising to unveil some really big news on election security. He's going to address primetime at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. local. So he'll be addressing that, the nation tonight. I heard that a couple of networks aren't running it. We'll see. I don't know if that is the case. But that doesn't really matter anymore with the internet. I don't watch those networks. They're propaganda, so it shouldn't surprise anyone at this point. Just like the local ABC, NBC, CBS, the networks, all of them, they're garbage. There's a reason I call them the propaganda apparatus of the Democrat cult, because that's what they are. 100%. Oh, man, looks like there's some kind of bad wreck on 290 heading out. Boy, that's going to back up traffic big time. Oh, they're just outside of 610. So you might want to steer clear of that area if you can get away from it. Oh, look at that. Ooh, that really sucks. Check your traffic on your phone. It's hard to do. The traffic maps are weird, but I always try to check them. The Google Maps are pretty good about traffic. Governor Tim Walz had this bizarre response to the Trump administration deporting an illegal immigrant, a child molester. He's a child rapist who had been raping this young girl since she was 10. Had raped her from 2002 to 2004. Began abusing her. And then he pardoned this illegal alien. And then, of course, the judge released him. In June, along with Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison and Minnesota Supreme Court Chief Justice Natalie Hudson, they pardoned this guy who admitted to and was prosecuted and convicted of raping a 10-year-old child. Now, it's inexplicable. State Department spokesman Tommy Pigott said Walz's decision to pardon the illegal alien is just inexplicable. It makes no sense. You have a pardon from Governor Tim Walz who tried to shield this individual from deportation, and then what happened afterwards is Secretary Rubio moving in to then revoke the legal status of this criminal. Here's what Marco Rubio had to say regarding the situation, which is well, needless to say, the Trump administration has a different take. And
just weeks ago, a convicted sex offender and a foreign national was shielded from deportation by the governor of Minnesota. Laotian national Tu Li Wang was convicted of repeatedly sexually abusing a 10-year-old girl in the state of Minnesota. He even tried to pay his victim for her silence, and he called his heinous crimes a minor thing. Just days before this foreign sex offender was scheduled to be deported, Tim Walz, the governor, issued him a pardon, setting him free to once again endanger the children of America. Well, this week I revoked his legal status in the United States, and as a result, federal agents took him into custody and as of today, he has been removed from the United States. Because of our action, this foreign criminal will never pose a threat to any American ever again. Americans must never be forced by their elected leaders to live alongside foreign sex criminals who have no right to begin with to reside in our country. This administration will always stand with the American people and defend them from violent criminals.
This administration is America first. Tim Walz is America last. Speaking about the deportation of this child molester, he asked, did that make us any safer? I don't know, maybe the 10-year-old girl might feel a little safer knowing this guy's not going to molest her anymore. Did that make the children that are left behind more stable? Well, was he molesting them too? I don't know. Did it improve the idea that we can't all be judged by our worst day? Well, huh? So Tim Walz is trying to convince us, he says this, trying to convince us that there's no reason to deport an illegal alien who is raping an American citizen, a child. He has excused it. You wonder why we think he's a weirdo? This is why, because he is a weirdo. Then he asks, trying to make it clear that his views on those crimes are horrific crimes. And he asserted they often are. I can tell you in these pardons, one of the overriding factors that continuously influences the decision, certainly of me, I can speak for the rest of the board, it looks like that depends on where the victims are at. This case exposes the depravity of the radical left. They will literally pardon child rapists and defy federal law to protect illegals, the White House said in a press release. Community notes, no lies detected. Walz and Ellison stood with a monster who preyed on a 10-year-old girl. The Trump administration stands with American families. There is no logical reason, logical conclusion you can come to pardon a 10-year-old child rapist because he has kids. So does the drug dealer. So does the murderer. Congratulations, you've now legalized crime. It explains why fraud is rampant in his state. It explains why the guy's a buffoon. The Democrats wanted that dude to be your vice president. I hear people occasionally complain about J.D. Vance on his worst day ever. On his worst day, he's never going to side with child rapists. And then Democrats will come up, well, Trump is a pedophile because of Jeffrey Epstein, ignoring all the facts and evidence that clearly that was not the case, ignoring the fact that the Biden administration supposedly sat on this information for 4 years and didn't devolve it if they had it. Well, once again, the one thing I know about the Democrats, they're the lying liars who lie, and they will continue to lie. It's what they do. And they're never going to stop. As long as they're allowed to continue to lie, they're going to continue lying. Tim Walz is a psychopath. I can't imagine a 10-year-old girl being subjected to that and then having federal officials, state officials, say that's okay. He needs to be pardoned because he got kids too. You know why your state sucks, Tim? Because you suck. All of you Democrats running these states, you suck so hard that even the worst Republicans look like a treat compared to you. Because you guys side with criminals and rapists constantly, including the ones that aren't even from our country and have no legal right to be here. But they want to keep them here because it helps them politically, they believe. All right, let's take a break. It is our Friday show on Thursday. We'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. When we come back, I think I'm going to do the ChrisX Files. The Pentagon released a new batch of UFO files last Friday, and there was some weird stuff in there. If you didn't go watch some of those videos, they're doing the drip, drip, drip method, which is just kind of lessens it. So by the time it really hits, people aren't as freaked out. There is some weird stuff that they released just last week. Now, I've seen a lot of this stuff before online because it gets leaked. And you don't know whether it's real or not, and now the government's coming out going, okay, yeah, these are real videos. There's some weird stuff, and we'll come back and do that on the other end. And we'll take your calls if you want to join us. It is our Friday show on Thursday. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. We'll be right back.
KSEV.
ChrisXradio.
Do you need money? Want to lower your monthly debt? Are you thinking about a cash-out refinance? Hi, it's Kathy from Baker Mortgage. A cash-out refinance can get you back in your comfort zone, and that's what it's all about. A recent client who closed with us had his payment go up about $300, but his monthly outgo was being reduced by $1,200, so giving him a net positive cash flow of $900. It's not about adding debt, but restructuring it in a way that makes sense, and this math totally makes sense. And please don't sweat it if your interest rate is going up a little or if you're extending the term. I can show you by taking a small amount of what you're saving monthly and applying it towards your mortgage, you're going to pay it off just as quickly and you'll be way ahead in the money game, which is where we all want to be, right? Remember, we want to help you, but we're not going to help you over a cliff. Baker Mortgage, 281-313-MOVE, or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
The open enrollment period for medical plans is right around the corner, so get some facts and your options. In response to COVID-19, rates are expected to rise as high as 40% in some states. Are you already paying exorbitant Obamacare or COBRA rates? Are you paying ridiculous rates for your family on your work group plan? Are you going without insurance because you can't find anything reasonable? Your search is over. Listen to your pal Chris Salcedo. How does a zero deductible, no copay nationwide PPO plan sound? And you can get it at half the cost, keeping your hard-earned money where it belongs, in your pocket. American Medical Plans will tailor a plan that best fits you as well as your budget. American Medical Plans are local guys. Their goal is to give you peace of mind and the utmost in healthcare. Call American Medical Plans today to see if you qualify and start saving 30 to 60% now. Call 833-500-PLAN. That's 833-500-7526, or go to AmericanMedicalPlans.com. That's AmericanMedicalPlans.com. It's a quality plan chosen and managed by you, not the government.
Sunscreen? Check. Pool float? Check. Friends texting, what should I bring? Easy. With the largest selection, the lowest prices, and locations all over Texas, Specs is the ultimate destination for summer. Shop Specs! Kick off the fun during Specs Summer Sale with big savings on ice-cold cans, refreshing wines, and every kind of sip under the sun. Specs Wines, Spirits, and Finer Foods. The fun starts here.
Checker Pro Joe here. Don't miss the Checker Pro Radio Show, your trusted source for home service pros. This week, we're featuring Bel Air Air Conditioning, keeping Houston cool and comfortable. Tune in every Friday at 11 a.m., right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
President Donald J. Trump joining us right now on the Chris Salcedo Show. Sir, welcome.
Thank you. The people of our country are getting it. 2016, we had a problem with the border, but it was nothing compared to what it is. But now you look at this, and this is 100 times worse. Nobody can imagine.
Will you order mass deportations if you win the White House?
Oh, day one, we have no choice, and we'll start with the bad ones.
The Chris Salcedo Show, 7 to 9 a.m. on The Voice of Texas. You can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. ChrisX Radio.
Yeah, you can't contain me. No one's been able to do it. For 58 years. I've been getting away with this. It's so funny because I was having a conversation with my brother the other day. I was like, at what point in time does society figure out I'm a fraud? I had a job where I worked at where they fired me and said I was a fraud. And I'm like, oh, okay, they figured it out. And oftentimes I feel in life like I'm just a kid going through life. And I'm like, when are they going to figure out I'm faking all this stuff? When are they going to realize I'm just making all this stuff up? I'm just flying by the seat of my pants, which actually I do a fair amount of, but I don't. And then I go back and look at all the work I actually put into preparing for the radio show and doing the things I actually do. I'm like, oh, I actually do work. I don't just, flip it off like it's nothing and fly by the seat of your pants, because when you do that, it shows. By the way, I realized I got sidetracked earlier. I was telling the story about staying alive. I mentioned Dr. Mobley. Well, someone posted on video. They said it was the Bee Gees' grandkids singing How Deep Is Your Love. I don't know if I talked about this on the air or not. And then went back, and it turns out it's I don't know if it's got to be one of the Bee Gees' grandkids. I think it's just one kid. And then he did a video where 4 of, I guess it's himself, that or he's got 3 brothers, and they all look exactly like him. But he sang How Deep Is Your Love, or him, with himself, I guess. And the video's great. It's all him, and they're all standing in a room, and they're singing all the harmony parts and stuff. And it sounds very similar to the Bee Gees. The kid's got a very high voice, in fact, higher than the Bee Gees, who all sang falsetto. And it's incredible. And the kid, his name, is it Kai? K-Y something. It's not Gibb, like Barry Gibb's last name. But it's Kai something, and it could be one of his grandkids. I did a quick research, but I didn't look up enough. I guess I'll do more research later. But if you type in the Bee Gees' grandkids performing, then you can find that. And apparently he does a lot of like collaborations with people and stuff. The kid's pretty talented. He looks just like Barry Gibb. That was why when I was watching the video, I'm like, these kids look just like the Bee Gees. And I think Barry Gibb is the only one of the brothers that is left. He's the only Bee Gee. There's only one BG. And the BG stood for Barry Gibb, BG. So that's how they got their name. I think he's the oldest, and he's the only one that's left. The other ones had, one of them had, at least 1 or 2 of them had illnesses. And then the youngest one, Andy Gibb, he died. His heart gave out. I guess he did a lot of cocaine. And hindsight looking back, they said he wore his heart out because he did so much cocaine and he died. Hindsight looking back, now we've seen when things like this happen, usually it's a case of where he did a bunch of drugs and then got off, he cleaned up, and then probably went on a bender, and that ended up causing him to overdose is probably what happened. I don't have any information, but that's generally the way that happens. But Barry Gibb was the oldest, and then Andy Gibb was the youngest, and then there was Robin and Maurice, and one of them died of cancer, I believe, and I don't know what the other one died from. So they're all gone except for Barry, but his grandkid, I guess maybe his grandkid, it's got to be one of their grandkids, looks just like him and sounds, like I said, he's got that really high voice, and Ben, it's great. I was watching it literally sort of brings back memories because he looks that much like him. He doesn't have the long mane of hair, he's got short hair, but he's got it kind of grown out a little bit. And he looks like the perfect little pop, Twinkie icon, The kids love the young singers that can play. Like I imagine teenage girls would love this guy. He's from Australia, but I guess he's relocated to Los Angeles. So there's another talented kid. He needs to do because he actually does collaborations. He needs to collaborate with Nene Royal from Thailand, and then she can just wail on guitar, and they can sing harmony, and they need to do a song together. I don't know if this kid went on America's Got Talent or not, so well, we'll see. Anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hijack the whole segment with that, but I forgot to get to it earlier. So, but if you want to go onto YouTube and type in the Bee Gees' grandkids, that's their grandchildren, you can do that. And I don't know if it's children. It looks like just one kid to me. That's all I could ever find. And I don't even know if he's actually their grandchild. But he sure looks like him. That's for darn sure. All right, let's take a break, then we'll come back and I'll get into some ChrisXradio Files. It is our Friday show on Thursday. So if you got a little groove in your heart, you want to get in, you got 2 segments to do so. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. We'll come back, talk a little bit about the latest release from the government regarding the UFO files.
We're listening to ChrisX Radio, AM 700, KSEV.
After a hard rain, you can see them. The water stains on the ceiling or the dripping water from a recessed light. Now you start to get nervous because you know leaks can cause big problems.
Once the water enters the structure, the trouble starts. Water weakens rafters and beams over time. It soaks through drywall and damages the insulation in your home.
And Roland, don't forget about mold. It grows fast in our humidity and causes all kinds of health problems.
I'd really hate to see you spend thousands on expensive structural or drywall repairs or mold removal projects, especially when we can fix those leaks quickly at Tejas Roofing.
And most of our leak repairs are under $500. This is Deb and Roland Tejada from Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. Call us when you first see that leak, 281-251-0304. See our work online at TejasRoofingandContracting.com. Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
Hello, friends. Let's be honest. Every business says they're better, but the ones that earn the prestigious BBB seal back it up. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And it instantly identifies reputable businesses you can trust. So look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. It's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org. That's bbb.org.
Summer weather is upon us, but true Texans know customizing outside areas at home is the key to enjoying outdoor gatherings in any season. And Russell Metzler with Gas Product Services is ready to help. From gas grills to outdoor kitchens, recreational fire features, and gas lights to all your home natural gas items and ideas. With over 20 years in the gas products business, Russell is your go-to guy and can add inspiring outdoor ambiance and culinary functionality you can enjoy year-round. Call 281-798-8006 or visit gasproductservices.com.
Hi, this is Michael Miller. Join me this weekend for the Backyard Bay radio program presented by Miller Pools and Texan Pools, now at our new time every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And what we do here on the Backyard Bay radio program is talk about your backyard. And this time of year, wow! It's so hard not to just spend all your time out in the Backyard Bay. And I know sometimes you have questions. That's why we do the Backyard Bay radio program, to get you good, solid answers to any kind of questions that you may have concerning your swimming pools, or I'm looking to build a new swimming pool. Join me this weekend for the Backyard Bay radio program, now at our new time, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m., right here on The Voice.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight will be humid with increasing clouds and a low of 77. Tomorrow, expect humidity with clouds breaking for some sunshine with a chance of a thunderstorm in spots during the afternoon and a high of 93. Tomorrow night will be partly cloudy and humid with a low of 78. Saturday will bring partly sunny skies and humidity with a high of 94. Sunday is set to be mostly sunny with a high of 95. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
And now, back to ChrisX Radio on the Voice of Texas.
Man, Aerosmith had some good music. They used to rock it. All right, welcome back to ChrisX Radio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man here on your Friday show on Thursday. That's right, it is the weekend for us, folks. We're kicking the weekend off 24 hours ahead of everybody else because the Amigos will take over tomorrow from 4 to 6 as they do each and every Friday. It's El Senador, then the Judge, and then a Strew with a View, which is going to be just El Senador and a Strew with a View tomorrow, I do believe. I think the Judge is on his way to California. So he's heading to somewhere his political mindset is far more, we'll just say far more along his lines. But anyway, all right, I promised I'm going to get some ChrisX Files. Let's do this thing right now.
Imagine a place in the darkest corners of your mind. There's a man sitting there with a microphone. His name is ChrisX. Now grab your tinfoil hats and take a journey with him into the ChrisX Files.
All right, welcome to the ChrisX Files. This is where things get a little wacky and a little weird, but it's not quite as wacky and as weird as it once was. The Pentagon released its latest batch of UFO files last Friday, including a report from a military aviator who said a mysterious object was unlike anything he had seen in 28 years of service. Now, Friday's release includes a total of 40 files, 14 documents, 19 videos, and 4 audio files and 3 images. If you've looked at some of the images in some of those videos, they released some weird stuff last week. The files come from a variety of agencies, the Pentagon, NASA, CIA, FBI, and the Energy Department. Now, from what we've learned in the last release, leading up to this one, and of course this one as well, NASA now has the astronauts are admitting that, yeah, they saw weird things when they were on the moon. They've seen weird things in space. There's no explanation for them, and they weren't allowed to talk about them because it was all classified. Well, those are being declassified now. And they're admitting, we don't know what these things are. We don't know who it is, what it is. And according to our government, they're not our adversaries and they're not us. So what are they? Well, this disclosure was similar to some of the past releases. A mix of unredacted historical documents with files detailing more recent events. One notable file from the Energy Department details an intrusion of an unidentified object into the airspace over a nuclear weapons facility known as Pantex near Amarillo, Texas. This was in September of 2015. The document includes the account of 2 officers who chased the object at the nuclear facility while it was placed on lockdown. Quote, although they were unable to catch up to the object, they stopped their vehicle and got out. Once outside, they noted that the object did not make any sound. Furthermore, they stated they were unable to identify any type of propulsion system on the object while using binoculars to assess it. After viewing it for 1 or 2 minutes, the object just continued north off site. They've also released some pictures of some weird stuff. About half of the files were dated from 2010 or later, and they were showing the infrared footage captured by military captures. The grainy images show these unexplained objects and encounters from around the world, including over the Western and Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic, and the Middle East. One of those incidents occurred over the Atlantic in 2020. This file included footage of an object that was darker maroonish color, approximately 12 to 15 feet in height, according to an accompanying report by the Navy crew member, which is heavily redacted. Structurally, it appeared as a large, somewhat deformed balloon, but we were unable to verify that as we passed at the merge. The weapons system officer wrote, followed by 2 redacted lines. Quote, we then proceeded back to the ship, landing uneventfully. The report is known as Range Fowler Debrief, which the Pentagon described as a standardized reporting from the U.S. Navy to record the circumstances of surrounding an unauthorized intrusion into controlled airspace during active military operations or training. The pictures from this and the video are bizarre. It looks like a clump of balloons. That's what it looks to me. But they say it's not. They don't know what it is. I know it looks like it was something that's just traveling with the wind, but they say no, it's not. It's very bizarre. Another debrief documented an object that an aviator saw in 2019 over the eastern U.S. along with other personnel. Said, quote, I noticed an object with flight characteristics unlike anything I'd seen in my 28 years of performing for the Air Force and the Navy. A small object below us appeared to be traveling at a straight line opposite our direction at high speed. I tracked it for 10 or 15 seconds before we turned on the recorder to provide the attached video, which they show. When I zoomed in and tried to achieve more resolution, the object's speed took out of my frame of view, and I was unable to reacquire it even at lower zoom. Upon analysis of the flight, the object appeared to be rectangular. With others with equal or more experience were also unsure as to what the object could have been. The video in the incident shows what appears to be some sort of object traveling at a very high rate of speed. Very bizarre. The most recent events described back and forth batch of files that came out in 2025 near China, under the military's Indo-Pacific Command. One video shows a military sensor tracking an area of contrast resembling a 6-pointed star over the Yellow Sea. The video of this one is bizarre. It looks like some weird effect. Another seems to track an object over the East Sea for several minutes, or the East China Sea. The historical records include the transcript of a 1949 conference in Los Alamos, New Mexico, of top physicists and scientists, including those who worked on the Manhattan Project. The conference attendees tried and failed to explain green fireballs that had been spotted over the nuclear lab. One theory held that they were meteors entering the atmosphere, But one prominent astronomer noted that nothing like this has ever been observed in the case of meteorite drops. The Pentagon said last Friday's release is not the last disclosure under President Trump's executive order. The Department of War and our agency partners are actively working on the next release of UAP files, Sean Parnell, spokesman, said in a statement. We've heard from Tim Burchett and Anna Paulina Luna, sitting members of Congress, that they have witnessed things that they can't explain, and the government can't explain, and those eventually are supposed to be released. So it is very bizarre what is being released. Once again, it's sort of a drip, drip, drip method. A lot of people at this point aren't even going and watching the videos or reading the files. But this is our government releasing this information. There's a certain portion of people say, is this the government? Are they lying to us? It could be. Why would they lie? And why would they have these objects that they're filming out there that nobody knows what they are, and they've got no explanation, but they're just lying about it? And then according to certain whistleblowers, the government has reverse engineering programs because they actually have some of these crafts in their possession, whether they were crashed or they were crashed or downed or whatever. So we shall see if we ever get that information, but it's bizarre stuff. And watching these videos is really bizarre. And they're starting to show some of these. And I imagine some of these other videos that I've gone online and seen. Now, you got to be careful because when you go online, fortunately, I do have video experience, and I can kind of tell when they use AI because things get weird. There is some AI that's very difficult to tell. But when it comes to some of these videos, this was long before AI came out. Now, they can take these videos and add AI to them. But I've been looking at some of these videos for the last 20 years on the internet. So this is before AI, the advent was able to take over. So we'll see if they release some of this stuff. At least 2 or 3 of the videos that they released in this last one, I had seen before, some as long as 15, 20 years ago. So it's bizarre stuff, but it once again poses the question, are we alone? Is the truth out there? I mean, I want to believe. Basically, from what Anna Paulina Luna and Tim Burchett are saying, Tim Burchett believes we are being visited by something from another solar system, another planet, another galaxy, whatever. These things are visiting us. Anna Paulina Luna seems to think they're interdimensional beings that have learned to somehow travel through dimensions and have now made their presence known, or we have stumbled upon them. When it comes to interdimensional things, that's so hard for me to even comprehend. It's hard for most people to comprehend. Unless you've done a lot of acid like Stephen King, who wrote The Mist. That's kind of interesting, but it seems to be there may be some elements to this. And then when you look at these objects that are not only traveling in some of the previous released videos, some that we've seen, of these objects that fly through the air at astronomical speeds that we can't even come close to covering. And then they're going through water and they don't slow down whatsoever. And these objects that literally in 1 second can go all the way to space and then drop down to the top of the ocean and sit there and hover silently with no propulsion, no jet plume, no nothing. These are objects beyond our comprehension. Some people are saying, well, they're demons. I don't think they're demons. I don't think they're angels. I think it's possible that we're not the top of the food chain that we once thought we were. It is possible over the years, especially when you start looking at things like the Book of Enoch that was specifically left out of the Bible. You start looking at things like this and reading some of this stuff and you go, there's some really weird stuff from the Book of Enoch. It is possible that there were different species on this planet that basically just separated themselves from us and went on a completely different path. And they have the ability to go into space, an ability to travel through air and water at speeds that are astronomical, that we can't comprehend, 30, 40, 50,000 miles per hour, and could very possibly be living at the bottom of the ocean. And technology has finally caught up with us to where we're able to actually go and witness these things that we couldn't catch before. And anytime somebody said anything, we've learned about the Legacy Project, which is apparently some portion of the government that has been tasked to put out disinformation and make everyone who says they saw a UFO a flying saucer, which a lot of these things are saucers, or just some unexplained, object flying around, that they're kooks, they're weirdos, and it's been effective. Because if you say, I saw a UFO, people think you're a kook. I saw a UAP about a year or two, no, it's probably a couple years ago now, after doing the show, going to eat, some weird object. But I didn't think it was a spacecraft. I didn't think it was aliens. I think this was a dark program by our government, and I just happened to catch it as it flew very low. It was a very weird-looking object, and it had no lights, and it was dark gray or black, and it flew right up, like I said, just above probably 100, maybe 1,000 feet, if that, above the tree line, traveling at a speed that was vastly faster than anything else I've seen. And this was a few years ago. And I just went, and then, of course, the weird thing was I mentioned it on the radio, and a bunch of other people contacted me independently and saw it as well. And they saw it similar to the area that I saw it, but also the direction that it was going in, they saw it in that area, which seemed to be coming from the Bush Intercontinental Airport area. And it was heading, but it was traveling at a way and a speed that we don't normally see from regular standard aviation crafts. And once again, it wasn't light-colored. It had no lights on it. It was a weird-looking object. It was a strangely shaped object, and I think it was one of these, black or these dark ops where they were taking one of these crafts that they were flying, and they were probably trying to fly it as stealthily as possible to go to wherever. And that's probably, I've seen weird lights and things, but once again, they're so high they could be satellites. There's no telling. I've never seen like a flying saucer. I've never seen anything along those lines. But that stuff is very bizarre. And now that the government is releasing these objects of various shapes and sizes, and they travel, these objects that are traveling from space and dropping in less than a second all the way to the top, the floor, top of the ocean, the sea level, and there's no sonic boom. That's what leads people to believe, well, maybe there is interdimensional travel. Maybe Bob Lazar is not a kook, and maybe he did work on reverse engineering some of these crafts because they have the ability to do things that we can't do. We can't do it. Doesn't mean something or someone else can or can't. Obviously, someone or something has figured out how to do these objects. And now the other thing, too, is in my area, I guess, I don't know if it was weird. They started doing the drone deliveries, which when you first see them, it's bizarre. It's these bigger drones that lift up and then fly over the air. You can hear them. They're big drones. So they're probably, about the height I saw of that UFO thing, but they fly. You can hear them. They actually make a sound, which the object that I saw made no sound. But these things, you can hear them. They sound like drones. And they fly, and then they go over, I guess, wherever they're going to do the delivery, and they just hover, and then another smaller drone comes out of it and goes down and drops the package off, and then comes back up and connects with it, and then it takes back off. They were doing that for the last few months over here in my area, and then I guess they stopped, or I don't know if they've moved them to another part of the town, but I'm not seeing them like I was. But those are bizarre, because those you feel like you're watching aliens invade, and they're simply drones. But these are commercial-grade drones, big drones with smaller drones that are attached to them that are dropped off and doing deliveries. And they're going around doing deliveries around my side of town. It's kind of crazy. All right, let's take a break. We're over. You're listening to ChrisX Radio. We'll come back, wrap up today's program, get you geared up for the weekend. It is our Friday show on Thursday. 281-558-KSEV if you want to get in for the final segment. 281-558-5738. I'm Chris X. We'll be right back to wrap up today's show.
The revolution continues after this. ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio. The Three Amigos.
You all are appointment listening. I listen to you every Friday afternoon. Everything stops for you all.
The Three Amigos. Make an appointment every Friday afternoon at 4 on The Voice of Texas.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
I started my first business at 12 years old, mowing lawns for about $5 a yard. I thought I was crushing it until my buddy down the street undercut me by $2. But he didn't just cut the price. he cut corners too. That's when I learned if you do the job right, people trust you, and integrity beats profit. People care more about how you show up and whether you do what you say you're going to do. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Garage Door Doctor. From garage door repairs to upgrades, we show up, we crush it, and we stand behind every job. We only use the best parts, and the spring's guaranteed to last a lifetime. Because when you care about the people you serve, you work harder, and it shows. From repairs to upgrades, call Garage Door Doctor today or schedule online at garagedoordoctor.biz. And yeah, we still beat the other guy.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
Hey y'all, it's Craig Collins. I wanted to let you know that my show airs every afternoon on KSEV from 6 to 7 p.m. I also wanted to encourage you to follow our social media pages. We are now live streaming most of our local content on KSEV Radio's YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter pages, as well as some of our select shows on KSEV Radio's Facebook page. Once again, please follow us at KSEV Radio on YouTube, Rumble, and X. And please follow me at Radio Craig C on X and on Facebook.
Does your company have a cybersecurity rider? Are you compliant with its terms? If you are not sure, call Tactical Cyber Services for a free consultation. 713-229-0030 or go online at tacticalcyberservices.com.
ChrisX here to tell you about Humble Amco Transmission and AC Specialists. People who know go to Amco. I personally trust Jay Streckfus and Humble Amco with all of my vehicle's needs. With complete car care, they'll take care of all of your auto needs as well. Always a free check engine light inspection, and tell them that ChrisX sent you for a free engine scan. Call Jay today at 281-446-0862. That's 281-446-0862 or online at humbleamco.com.
A breast cancer diagnosis can turn your world upside down. But your Houston Methodist team assures you they'll use the latest cancer research and technologies, collaborating to treat and remove the tumor and reconstruct your breasts, restoring symmetry, sensation, and your sense of self. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
And now, we return you to your regularly scheduled dose of common sense. ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio.
This is the Beastie Boys. Sabotage, such a great song. One of their best. Man, this was the 80s, man. That was back when anything went. And it was a lot of fun, a lot of cool stuff. I know one of the Beastie Boys has died. I think, is it Adam? I don't know. Need to ask the youngster like Lucas. He probably knows. He's probably got posters of the Beastie Boys in his bedroom. Probably not. But I bet you he could probably tell us which Beastie Boy. I don't know. Young MC? No, that was a different guy in the 80s. All right, welcome back to ChrisX Radio. Glad to have you here on the program. I hope you enjoyed the ChrisX Files. It was a big one today. Once again, for those who want to go back, you can go back and look. In fact, if you want to go to the CBS News, they actually did a good job and posted a lot of the videos and the photos and stuff, and you can actually go or just go to the UFO Files and go find the actual one. I want to mention once again, actor Hal Williams has died at age 91. He was actor that we saw on Sanford and Son and some other things. So we lost another great actor. Somebody else passed away too, and I can't remember who. But we're starting to lose some of our these actors that we grew up watching. Guys in my age bracket, and some of those a little older than me probably grew up watching them as well. I was very young when Sanford and Son. I had no idea Fred Sanford was actually a comedian named Red Fox, who was actually very dirty and very funny and similar to Richard Pryor. But anyway, there's also a new trailer dropped for it's called I Play Rocky. It's the Rocky, not the Rocky Balboa story. It's the Sylvester Stallone story. That's kind of interesting. So I saw like a trailer for it. The guy, he looks similar. And he doesn't look exactly like Sylvester Stallone. Of course, nobody does. And he doesn't have to. He just looks similar. If it was made on Netflix, he'd be played by a black guy, and then Apollo Creed would be played by an Asian woman, and then wonder why I don't subscribe to Netflix. All right, by the way, tonight President Trump will address the nation. I heard we may be carrying it on our station. I'm not sure. But if we are, then that's cool. If not, then I heard ABC and NBC will not be airing it. And now I'm hearing people saying, hey, calling for them to pull their licenses. Well, they're like I said, these are propaganda networks, much like The View on ABC, which the Federal Communications, they say, is preparing to rule that they're not a news program. And this would, subject them to equal time rules for candidates because that's not what they've been doing. They have not been doing equal time. So that'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm definitely going to, watch, and I won't, needless to say, I'm not going to need to pull any audio from the president's speech tonight because I imagine some will be pulled on the Amigos tomorrow from 4 to 6 as they take over. And then by Monday, it may be completely, you're 4 days past the news cycle, man. It's a completely different news cycle. So unless Trump drops aliens are among us, and we all know this, which it's possible, but it looks like more he's going to be talking about some election interference in the 2020 election, which explains why the propaganda networks don't want to cover it. They're a little upset by that kind of stuff. They want us to pretend and believe that there was no wrongdoing in that election whatsoever, and it's already been proven, and there's no election fraud ever because the jig is up. If we knew how much actual election fraud was taking place in this country, we would be astonished.